Bases. They hold you and your loot safe. We got small bases, big bases, K bases, sky bases. We got all kinds of bases in Rust. But today, we are here to find out what kind of person you are based on this information. Are you either a good little sweaty clan player, or are you a good little sweaty clan player? We're also going to rank them in a tier list. Now, we got the classical 2x2. This is a highly customizable blueprint, and there's a new design every week on the new best 2x2. Some of the most notable versions are the classical 2x2, the bunker 2x2, and the roof bunker 2x2. If this is your favorite base design, then you most likely have a social life, maybe even a girlfriend. Okay, that was a stretch. But either that, or you don't know how to build anything else. The 2x2 is cheap, decently strong, and comfortable to live out of. It's also the perfect starter base. With all that being said, we'll have to go into, drumroll please, S tier. This might be biased, but I really think there's no base design better than this. It's strong in all categories. Let's not forget skybases, YouTuber's favorite base to clickbait. If you live in this base, you are either a YouTuber or very gullible, I'm sorry. From my experience, skybases are realistically absolute trash. It takes way too long to get up and down from the base, it's expensive to build, and it's cheap to raid. All you have to do is take out a couple of pillars, the base comes crumbling down, like your parents' marriage. It does have the advantage of being able to see over to other people, but if you roof camp too much, you will get targeted. And due to all of these disadvantages, it will have to go into D tier. But before we move on, I have to thank Howl for sponsoring this video. Howl just dropped an insane update. You can now get up to a 3x deposit bonus every time you play on the site. You deposit $1,000, receive $3,000 in your balance. Along with that, they released a brand new reward program with instant, daily, weekly, and monthly rakeback. You can open daily cases to receive free rewards and get instant free cash every time you level up. Play coin flip, jackpot, slots, live games, and more, all with Rust skins and crypto. Use code Gamesense or click in the description below. Just like mentioned before, we got the roof camp bases. Now, if you didn't already understand from the name, it's a tower style base with the goal of having good peaks. This base design can be incredibly deadly if used in the right way. A variation of this base is the fob, which is used for raiding big clan bases. You can also put these roof camp bases over a monument, giving you strong angles on the enemies. And if you think like this, then you must be a geek. You're worse than this sweaty clan player because you go into such detail about Rust, it's miserable. Luckily, I'm not one of these guys. In most cases, it's either used by role players who can't aim even if their life depends on it, or Russians who have 200 ping and can't win a single 1v1 fight. While doing research on the topic, I found a video that encapsulates what a roof camper really is.
Yep, so with this kind of tower, you'll be able to get all of them naked, just taking your barrels on the beach, and you can send out your homies naked to pick all that shit up.
I don't know why, but the way his sound has been distorted is just so funny. I'll link the full video in the description if you want to watch it. So, in short, it has to go into C tier. And not because the base itself is bad, but just the people who use it, I don't like them. Next up, we got K bases. K bases are strong since they are easy to honeycomb, and they are also hidden. In most cases, these bases are occupied by players who are intermediate at the game. Not too sweaty, nor are they too new either. I could also smell a touch of role player, since they spend such a long time inside the cave. I mean, have you seen some of these bases? They are so pimped out, you might mistake them for one of those old MTV Cribs videos. In some caves, it's also possible to even get electricity, which is absolutely wild. This will have to go to B tier, and only because it takes too long to get in and out of your base. The Treehouse base is a very weird and unique base in Rust. I never really lived in one, so I don't really know what it's like, but I feel like you must be a little bit weird. If you live in this base, then most likely your favorite energy drink is Monster, you wear a beanie, and you smoke grass. Because otherwise, you wouldn't be living in a tree. I don't know where you got that idea from, but it is possible. It's also situated in a swamp, which means you lose at least 10 FPS, and due to all of these factors, it will have to go into C tier. This is the one-way ticket to financial freedom in Rust. The horse farm. Known for its infinite money glitch and smell, this is a very strong base if used in the right way. Most of the time, it's not the main base, but a means to an end. If you don't feel like fighting people in a monument all day long, it just serves the purpose of getting easy scrap. The people who build this base are above the age of 25. They most likely bought the game recently or a decade ago, and I can also smell whiskey with ice on the left side of your table right now. Maybe even a stable job, but I'm really not sure about the last one since you do play Rust. This will go into C tier. The Mada base. You know what I'm talking about. The bases that are so big it will drop your FPS as soon as it renders in. the base where all the players are below the age of 21, who fill the chat with useless spam on how they are controlling X monument, and they make some very quirky / clever jokes in their mind on how to eliminate the competition. I mean, these bases really are a hit or miss. Sometimes they are extraordinary feats of Rust building mechanics that really show off how far Rust has become into terms of building, showing off some of the most skillful building mechanics Rust has to offer, with stacking roofs, multiple TCs, wide gaps, incredible electricity, and main loot rooms with crumbling roof traps, and much more. And then, in other cases, it's just a way too complicated base where the corridors lead to nowhere, the peaks are confusing, and the loot rooms are just empty. You can't do anything about that, and making it just a useless metal box, and for that reason, it will have to go into D tier. For every one nice base, there are at least 6 horrid bases. On the opposite side, we got the classical 3x3, known for its simple blueprint and relatively cheap cost. It's the go-to to all the best vanilla clans throughout the ages. The starting blueprint for the base is also very simple, meaning anyone on the team can slap it down on the start of wipe. It used to be a very shallow base with only 2 layers of honeycombing, but now there are many variations of it that are also incredibly strong later into wipe. The people who live in this base are most likely players who used to play old recoil. They're old heads who wish time could turn back and go back into the good old days. But it is what it is, times have moved on, and the base design has also moved on and became something bigger than just a 3x3. It has become a solid staple of vanilla Rust. And due to this, it will have to go into A tier. Solid A tier, I think that's fair. I really like the 3x3. Next up, we got the Iceberg base, one of the older base designs in Rust. They have been around for ages, but no one has really played in it. But it's been recently made popular due to the YouTubers trying to make hemp bases or quirky, unraidable bases on the Iceberg. In my opinion, they can be really solid if you want a strong clan base. But the only problem it has, it's really weak in the early game, due to the fact that it's in the snow and far from any monuments, so getting any kind of resources is really hard. But luckily, these disadvantages turn into advantages the later the wipe goes on, because an Iceberg is always closer to a tier 3 water monument than a base that is on land. To raid this base, it's super annoying because you have to approach it by boat or minicopter. Now, the people who build an Iceberg are most likely a friend group who have been playing together for a long time. They share drinks on the weekend and probably play way too much Rust in their free time. So this will have to go into B tier. The Legacy Wooden Shack. I haven't really tried this one out yet, and I don't have that nostalgia feeling with it either, but it seems decent due to its cost, so I will have to put it in C tier. Now we got the hemp/furnace bases. These are really solid second bases, mostly used by clans for extra resources. People who build these are usually not the best players mechanically in the game, but they make up for it with their knowledge of other things like farming and electricity. The people who manage these are usually older players who are way too tired to grind out the mechanics and want to just have fun. B tier, very solid. Island bases. The people who wall up islands or the small patches of sand near their coastline are definitely freaks. They enjoyed their time alone in Rust, play on the server for at least a week. They most likely think this is the hardest edit on Instagram. But anyway, the island itself is solid because it's usually a good early game for resources. It can also have a monument on it, and it's not as hard to build on as the Iceberg. And due to all of these reasons, it has to go into B tier. I almost forgot the water bases. Now, these are quite similar to the sky base, needing a lot of resources to build up. They are harder to build since you do need a diamond kit and flippers, but then again, they have the advantage of being closer to tier 3 monuments, like oil rig and underwater labs. Plus, they seem quite cozy. The people who live in this base are probably a bit crazy and haven't showered for weeks, with a crusty keyboard and mousepad, but still, the base itself is pretty decent, C tier. Last but not least, we got the monument bases. I don't really know what to call them, but it's the case where a group of people wall in a monument and their base inside one compound. It's a very popular meta with the lighthouse, where you can have your own private recycler and a couple of boxes. I honestly think this is pretty cool, but the people who do this have way too much free time on their hands, and it's pretty annoying if you are trying to loot the monument, so it will have to go into C tier.